So I kind of have a contrary take on this one. I think the Eagles defense is actually hashtag actually good.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host, Nick Schreck. There it is. Got my name right in part two. I am here once again with the fantastic, fabulous Nick Walsh. Walsh, you ready for part two?
I am ready for part two, Schreck. I got to tell you this. So normally when I go to Walgreens to buy wine, I buy a 1.5 liter bottle, which is like the big boy of Woodbridge, for $11.
Okay.
And I buy the cab because I'm a man of sophistication. And I went to Walgreens today before the podcast, and they didn't have the Woodbridge cab that I normally buy for the $11.
Holy shit.
So I had decisions to make. And what I did was I bought a 1.5 liter bottle of Liberty Creek cab for $6. And I was expecting it to taste like gasoline. And you know what? I'm not going back to the Woodbridge. I'm drinking this $6 bottle of wine now.
I'll tell you what, Walsh, the fantasy gods have looked down kindly upon you tonight. They've pushed you in the direction of a new beautiful drink, and they've saved you $5 in the process.
Yeah, you really can't beat it, man. My teeth hurt for some reason, but other than that, we're doing great. It tastes spectacular. The podcast is going to be just wonderful.
My teeth may fall out of my mouth, but other than that, Shrek, I am fucking good to go. Walsh, I fucking love it. The dedication to the fucking cause, man. I am glad you found a new back. It's almost like I know it's your go-to now since you've given up on your $11.99 bottle, but it's nice to have options.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it existed, and it really doesn't taste nearly as bad as I thought. So I'm as happy as a pig in shit. As
so I think the most important comparison here is going to be the Barstool Sports drink that you hated so much on the previous podcast, or this $6 bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's this one. It's this one for sure.
That's a slam dunk.
I did 2 weeks of vodka on the podcast, and those are the last 2 weeks of vodka on the podcast. Fucking A, dude.
It's not like you're forgetting stories you've been telling already. Let's kick things off, Walshy, and let's start with the Detroit Lions at the Washington Redskins. Yikes. Matthew Stafford with the back injury is considered week to week. We'll have to wait and see. Do you have a health update on him, or does it?
I mean, the last that I heard, he was expected to be out multiple weeks past this week. Okay. So I'm going in assuming Jeff Driscoll as the starter, which not that bad, actually, Jeff Driscoll.
Would you compare Jeff Driscoll to your $6 bottle of wine and Matthew Stafford as your $11.99?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Driscoll, when he came in for the Bengals last year, and I know, the Bengals' whole team was basically a skeleton crew at that point,
sure.
But, he looked terrible. So when I found out Jeff Driscoll was going to be starting this year, I was like, fucking whatever, he sucks. And as it turns out, he's got a little bit of mobility, and he's been able to throw the ball around a little bit. Not necessarily enough to support the fantasy production that we really want, but there are worse and there are way worse backup quarterbacks in the league than Jeff Driscoll at this point.
Yeah, which is shocking to say the least.
I think you can start him this week.
Wow, you're really feeling that wine. Okay.
I mean, him this is a lot, but him or Jameis or him or Kyle Allen, which guys are you looking at here?
Oh, you're right. I mean, I agree. If you're looking to play either of those other two guys, it's not them. Yeah, you're actually right. And this is a game I think that they can keep close, right? I mean, maybe they dominate or keep close, but I think it's a lot of fantasy points coming for Detroit Lions here on Sunday, which is a good thing for Driscoll, in addition to Kenny Golladay, even a little Danny Amendola, I think, who's going to have himself a nice little week. So we'll see. But I don't know. I'm looking here. Josh Norman's been especially awful. primary slot wide receivers have had no issue kind of crushing this defense. And I think that there's some opportunity there for possible cheap DFS play here. Again, I don't have Danny Amendola's price in front of me, but I think based on the target share we've seen and the very, very bad Redskins secondary, that he may be worth a nice little dart throw.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy you can go to if you really need to. I wouldn't be going out of my way. Sort of the same thing with Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. Like, sure. I'm not going out of my way, but they are all good plays. If you're going to ask me to predict which one of the Detroit wide receivers is going to lead the team in targets or catches or yards or touchdowns this week, I would tell you it's just as easy to, like, fucking predict the weather, you know, like as a person with no meteorology experience, like yep. I don't know. And I haven't known all year pretty much. No, so
never do.
I mean, I think in order, the best plays in terms of them are Golladay, Jones, and Amendola, just because that's the way the target share has generally gone this week, or yep. sorry, this year. Yep. But any of those guys can be playable on any given week. Just know that you're dealing with a low floor because it's a backup quarterback. Washington wants to run the ball. You know, nothing is safe here, but they are all viable.
Yep. Hawkinson, I have no interest at tight end. Spin the wheel.
No, I would rather go elsewhere. You know, we've gone through a lot of guys at tight end like Griffin and, you know, Fant and these yep. types of guys who are much better plays. Yep, guys that are on the wire. That does it for the receivers here, Walsh. What about the running game? I know you're playing Scarborough here this week. Yeah, so I think Scarborough's a solid start this week. You know, he really came in and took the early down work this past week. 14 rushes, 55 yards, and a touchdown, and he was in on 49% of the snaps. You know, the other roughly 50% of the snaps were split between Ty Johnson and J.D. McKissick. McKissick is really the passing down specialist. You know, Johnson seems to be the guy who can do a little bit of each. I guess in a way that sort of makes it palatable, I would compare this to Scarborough is the Sony Michel, Johnson is the Rex Burkhead, and McKissick is the James White. In a matchup against the Redskins, I think the Sony Michel of the group is the best play, and I think he's a viable play. All right. With a sales pitch like that, you've got me maybe sending you a couple of trade offers for Scarborough. I haven't looked at their schedule after this week. I'm really just looking at it for this week. I know. But it was a hell of a sale. I mean, you get the Bears, the Vikings, the Bucks. Yeah, that sucks. I don't want any part of that. Scarborough will likely be dropped by me after this week, so have at it. Use them like a cheap hooker. All right, I think that's going to do it on the line side of the ball. Let's flip over to the Redskins side, Walshy. Is there anybody you like in this matchup? No, there's no one. that's a simple one. The Detroit defense sucks, and there's still no one that I want to play. I'm just like looking. I'm like, yeah, there's nobody I can even like throw some kind of bullshit stat out here to just try and feel good about. Let's pick it, and I think I'm going to stay with the favorites as we kick off part 2 of the podcast, Walsh. Yeah, I'm taking Detroit. I'm not taking Washington to win another game this year. Fucking sweep it through. Sorry, Ed. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans, Walshy. Next game on the slate. Tennessee -3, over under a 41.5. Let's start on the Jaguars side of the ball. Yeah, I mean, Big Dick Nick comes out and shows us why he's earned the nickname Big Dick Nick. Goes out there and looks good throwing the ball. Yeah, I mean, he's slaying the ball to DJ Shark pretty well. I mean, that was pretty much all he did. But that's okay. I own a lot of DJ Shark, so that was a good week for me. Yeah, I also do that, and I played him in a couple leagues and did not play him in R1, and man, that sucked. But I mean, yeah, you know, I don't think you need to go out and like start Nick Foles this week. I think it's clear that DJ Shark is a start. Yeah. In terms of the rest of their targets this past week, you know, Conley had 8. He turned that into 6 catches for 58 yards. Westbrook had 6 of them. He turned that into 4 catches for 32 yards. And then Fournette still had 7 targets, which he turned into 7 receptions for 34 yards. So in terms of the Jaguars that you need to be playing, it's Fournette and Shark. I think you can make an argument that Conley is probably the next best play.
Yep.
And other than that, I'm not really trying to force anyone else out there. Like, I mean, in a matchup with an over-under of 41.5, like, we shouldn't be trying to force plays.
Nope, I completely agree. Chris Conley does set up nice, though, against LaShawn Sims, who allowed 10 of 13 targets in his coverage to be caught for 115 yards and a score. So this season. So if you want to force Conley, I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't go anywhere else. As far as tight end, scrap it. Cool?
Yep, sounds good.
Cool. Flip side of the ball, the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill breathing some life into this team. A.J. Brown leads away with 25 targets. Corey Davis, 22. Adam Humphries, 99. Wow, 19. 99 would be impressive. 19 targets for Adam Humphries. Do you trust any of them in this matchup against the Jaguars?
No, and it's not an imposing matchup, but I mean, I just don't really know where these targets are going to go. Corey Davis is expected to play with that hip injury.
Yep.
To me, the play here is extremely obvious, and it's Derrick Henry. I mean, we just saw Marlon Mack and Jonathan Williams combine for over 200 yards, and those are both guys who are rush only, type running backs.
Correct.
Derrick Henry and Marlon Mack, I think, are two of the most comparable running backs in terms of their usage in the league. So when you just see Marlon Mack do what he did and then leave in the third quarter, like, Derrick Henry is theoretically could end up with 200 plus yards in this game, and I would not be surprised in the slightest.
100%. He's the home run play in the matchup for sure. When it comes to tight end, well, Jonnu Smith, he's got 22 targets here with Ryan Tannehill. He's the PPR tight end number 8 in week 7 through 10 with Delaney Walker kind of out. I think he stays as a low tight end 1 option for people that need to play a tight end.
Yeah, I've been very against Jonnu Smith for a while, and it's time for me to just admit that I'm wrong, and he's just fine in terms of a tight end play.
Perfect. Yep, bottom barrel if you need to do it. But otherwise, it's Derrick Henry and Jonnu Smith. And that's
McDonald, Olsen, Waller, all those guys ahead of him, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I don't know about Olsen. I might not do Olsen over him.
Okay.
I think Olsen is more of a safe floor. You could get burned, I think, with Smith, but I think he provides a better upside than Olsen is going to offer you.
Okay. Do you have an opinion on Ryan Griffin relative to him?
I'd probably play Jonnu Smith.
Okay. I think Griffin probably has a higher ceiling and probably a lower floor, but that's a cop-out answer. I think I'd probably rather play Griffin, but it's very, very close.
Yeah, it's close, and that's kind of why I was just I think I'd play Smith, but it's close. But I think Olsen is the only one out of what you listed that I would for sure play Jonnu Smith over.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But that's like you said, the targets are there. It's just a matter of how consistent and when can you believe in them actually being there. But with that, Walshy, what an easy game. Let's pick it.
Tennessee.
I'm gonna take the Jaguars. I'm jagging off.
Okay, I like it. I mean, Tennessee's the easy call there. I feel like. I think we should – well, sorry, I'm going back, but, Derrick Henry, the floor is still as low as it could possibly be in this matchup. If the Jaguars get, a turnover or two right off the bat and they're up 14-0, all bets are off.
Yep.
And that's the situation where I could see you, taking the Jaguars, that kind of thing. Sorry, that's why I brought that up. But anyway, let's move on.
No, you're good, man. No apologies necessary. Last game, Walsh, before the break, the Dallas Cowboys at the New England Patriots. Tough matchup here for the Cowboys after Dak, who has been fucking electric, lights out really for the most part. But I still think you probably don't have a better. I'm playing Dak Prescott.
Yes.
It's just he's been too lights out despite a tough matchup. You're still playing him.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Okay. If you own Zeke Elliott, you're obviously playing him. I don't think he needs much conversation.
Yeah, and I think this is a matchup where he actually might really do some things because New England's been more vulnerable in the run game than they have in the pass game as of recent weeks. So this might be an opportunity for Zeke to really kind of like if Dallas comes out with the game plan of feeding Zeke, like this is the week to do that. To me.
Yep. My biggest question really for you, Walsh, you talked about Gallup before, and I don't remember who you said you would play over Gallup. I apologize. But what's your take here, right, on the wide receivers? You just talked about being able to get it done on the ground. I don't remember who it was specifically you said you'd play over Gallup, but that obviously shows.
It was Taylor Gabriel.
Oh, there you go. Okay. It was Taylor Gabriel. So,
and actually, maybe it was Tyrell Williams, but it was one of those two guys. I don't remember specifically.
Okay. So, but either way, like, what's your take on this receiving game? Because obviously you had those concerns when we talked about the earlier games, and Gallup was someone that stuck out in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to play any of them, and I think it's really tough to sit like Amari, for example, because he's so good. He's coming off a rough week. He's a little bit banged up. I think he's a really, really tough decision this week. I think Gallup is also a very tough decision. But look, this pass defense is great. It's been great all year. Obviously, a guy like Randall Cobb is not a guy that you're playing. I think the correct move is to look for other options. And if you cannot find other obvious options, like maybe those guys that I talked about, Taylor Gabriel, Tyrell Williams, guys in just like very, very good matchups.
Yep.
Then I think you can roll out Gallup and Amari and, hang your head high.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I mean,
hold your head high, not hang your head high.
Either way, hang it, hold it, whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, it's difficult to sit those guys for sure. I do also think, I think the most likely outcome is the New England pass defense shuts Dallas down. I don't have a fully formed thought on this yet, but part of me is saying, is it sneaky to just like stack Cowboys pass game in daily games? Because no one is going to be on them, and they are the number one most efficient passing offense in the NFL right now. And, I know New England's pass defense is the best pass defense in the NFL as well.
Yep.
So one of those is going to win out. And part of me says the fact that everyone's going to be off them this week means I should be on them in, in large field tournaments.
Sure.
But I think in your week-to-week season-long leagues, the correct move is to try to look elsewhere if you can.
Yeah, I agree. The Patriots have allowed fewer than 200 passing yards in all but 2 games this season. So, like you said, bigger Zeke Elliott on the ground vulnerability than through the air. I do like the play though there, Walsh, you have tossing a lineup out there with all the Dallas pass catchers and seeing, because like you said, nobody's fucking going to be doing it. There's just no
or at least just like throwing Amari out there in some lineups, like their most talented guy, that kind of thing.
Play the fucking odds, baby. Jason Witten is a no-go for me. I mean, he's just been kind of borderline tight end one, I think, just based on what he's doing in that offense, but not in this matchup.
Yeah, no, not the correct matchup for it.
Patriots side of the ball. Terrific Tom. Leads the charge for the Patriots. Tom Brady, as always, is fucking Tom Brady. I actually don't have any numbers in front of me for him as far as his passing, but
he's a bad play this week.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like, he's since the first couple of weeks where he like really came out and like did stuff, like he hasn't been impressive in fantasy. And not that the Dallas defense is really imposing, but like, I don't think Tom Brady is a good play. I don't think Tom Brady is a starter unless it's a great matchup for the rest of the year.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, we've talked about some great streaming candidates, right? Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, other options. If you were playing Tom Brady anyway, guys that are under waiver wires. So the receiving game, I think, is Julian Edelman. You own Julian Edelman. You're playing him. Mohamed Sanu, I think, is he goes 10 for 81 and a touchdown, and then he goes 2 for 23 and 0, and 2 for 4 and 0. I got to leave him as like pretty much not relevant, right? Until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, I'm most certainly not on him. I mean, I think the addition of N'Keal Harry to this passing game makes everyone south of Julian Edelman a preferred bench move for me, because all it does, I mean, N'Keal Harry came in, he got 4 targets in his first game back. And that's enough. That's enough for me to say, I don't want Philip Dorsett. I don't want Mohamed Sanu. The target share is too narrow at this point, or I'm sorry, not narrow. The target share is too wide at this point for me to really get invested in this. And it's just not something I really want to attack. I think the running backs too are like very, very difficult to rationalize playing any of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even look at the tight end spot, like it's Julian Edelman.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team built on their defense. Their offense is not anything to write home about this year. And with as wide as they are in terms of now they've got 4 wide receivers who are doing things. Benjamin Watson is sucking up some targets every single game. Yep. Early in the year when we were trying to play Patriots players, they were getting virtually no tight end targets whatsoever. At certain parts of the year we were trying to play Patriots running backs. It was just 2 of them. Burkhead was hurt for quite a while. Yep. So we've got 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a tight end that are all getting some kind of significant enough usage that we need to talk about it. That's too much in an offense that I don't expect to put up more than, 24 points or so.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I skipped it when I introduced the game, but New England -6.5 over under of 45. So, and that's the 24 points puts you right on par with the over under there. So, let's pick it.
I'm going to take Dallas. Fuck the Patriots.
I wanted to go contrary to you and do that, so I'm going to take the Patriots. There it is.
Sorry, I stole your thunder there.
No, that's okay, Walsh. We fucking split no matter what, baby. And that's how we're going to take it into the break, guys, with a split on the Cowboys and the Patriots, just opposite of how I thought that split was going to go. We'll be right back with the Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers.
Have you thought about trying sports betting but aren't sure how it'll go? Our friends at FanDuel are giving away a $50 sign-up bonus at letstalkfantasyfootball.com/FanDuel-sportsbook.
All right, guys, and we are back from break here. Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. Walsh, let's dive right into it and start on the Packers side of the ball. Let's just, as a whole, 49ers are really good. Not a great match, not an ideal matchup here for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, if we're playing him or own him, I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move to look elsewhere. Do you think it's worth wondering whether the Niners are exactly what we thought they were through the beginning of the season? Because, I mean, it's the past 3 weeks they played the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and then the Cardinals, and I think they had a bye. Their bye was early. So past 3 weeks, that was their matchups: Cardinals, Seahawks, Cardinals again.
Sure.
They haven't looked like any great shakes during any of those 3 matchups. So is that just these teams kind of know them? They're their division teams. The Cardinals run sort of a weird offense. They got the better of them. Or is the Niners defense not to be as feared as we thought?
I am if there was an outside team in there from outside the division that exploited, I guess we'll call it, the 49ers defense, I'd be more inclined to say that we're seeing a different, kind of, I don't want to put them in the same boat, but we're talking about the Falcons, right? How we've seen kind of like a night and day kind of swap. I don't think that's the case here. I think that the 49ers are who we thought they were. I think it's the interdivision, teams know each other a little bit better, and division shit goes out the window. But that's my take. What do you think?
I think that's probably the correct take. Like, if the Packers just hang on the Niners this week, then like all of a sudden their defense is definitely not what we thought they were. Yep. But I think you're probably right that until then we can't really be sure. So that being said, I think you're right. I think Rodgers, I'm probably looking to go elsewhere, but again, I don't think you need to.
Nope.
Like it's sort of based on what's available, that sort of thing. And then with the rest of this team, I mean, Devontae Adams, I think, is a for sure start. Mm-hmm. And then like Aaron Jones, like you should be starting, and Jamal Williams, you can be starting. And I think that's about it. Yep.
I literally have nothing to add. That's That's it. I got nothing. You're right.
Sweet.
Nailed it, Walshy. Let's flip around to the 49ers side of the ball. And I think I don't even want to say the most interesting, right? But I think one of the most important things to talk about is, Emmanuel Sanders, because we watch him. He plays, he's hurt, he's out, and I'm just pulling him back up now to see what I'm sure you already have it, but the latest news on him and his health.
I mean, he's questionable going into this week. I think he's expected to go is what I'm, aware of, but he went last week too. So,
yeah, no, well, that's the thing. He played and then he ends up fucking you.
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes a little bit tough there. I think the news that matters with that as well is that Deebo Samuel is also questionable.
Yep.
So those are the two guys who are going to get the wide receiver targets. It's become apparently obvious that they do not trust anyone else in terms of the wide receiver core. Maybe the next guy up would be like Kendrick Bourne. But yeah, it looks like Sanders was limited in today's practice. I think Deebo was also limited in today's practice.
Yes.
So as someone who needs to make the decision between the two of them in one league, I don't know what I'm going to do. That being said, Deebo Samuel balls, dude.
Yeah, dude.
That guy's good.
He's legit as shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Walsh, I think if they're both active, I think it's Deebo. Not that you're asking for my input, but I think that's if I am staring that decision in the face and someone asks, I'm playing Deebo if they're both active.
I think you're probably right, and I made the wrong decision on that. I made a lot of wrong decisions with Deebo last week where in my main DraftKings lineup, when they didn't make a decision on Sanders or they said he was going to be active, I swapped off Deebo and Olsen for D.D. Westbrook and Dwelly, and that didn't work out. And in an actual season-long league, I put in Sanders for Deebo, and that also did not work out. So I'm not betting against Deebo if he's active right now because that motherfucker is like he looks like he's like putting like running back type hits on people when he catches the ball. Like he's good.
He's fucking talented, and he means fucking business, man. He means fucking business. I agree though. He's a fun watch, and I think if healthy, I mean, again, I was slightly concerned by the fact it was a non-contact. We're in a non-contact jersey here. But you get the participation tag. So I think he's probably going to go. Obviously, by the time you guys are tuning in, you'll probably have some more info than we do recording. But for now, hopeful, I guess, is the best way we can leave it. I think hopeful is probably the right term that you're looking for George Kittle as well. Right, Walsh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I still think the correct move here and the move that I've been doing for the past 2 weeks and will continue to do this week is I own Ross Dwelly in every league that I own George Kittle, particularly this week where they are playing on Sunday night. That game got flexed to Sunday night. That's badass. It's going to be a great game. I'm really excited for it. A couple of my buddies are actually going down to that game in Santa Clara.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a couple guys from Milwaukee, so they're Green Bay fans going down to Santa Clara.
Oh, baby!
But yeah, it should be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I think the correct move is owning Ross Dwelly and just waiting until game time. And if George Kittle plays, you play George Kittle, and if not, you play Ross Dwelly. I know Ross Dwelly is not that talented. I know all of that. The guy got 2 touchdowns this past week. He had 7 targets the week before. He's averaging 5 targets a game over his 2 starts. That's enough.
They trust him to feature him at the end zone. I mean, that itself is enough. And then he's fucking converting anyway. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I there was like a lot of like weird, like this past week, like certain sites were like, yeah, we're projecting Ross Dwelly for like 1 target and 13 yards. I was like, didn't you just see him get 7 targets like this past week?
You felt like an idiot. You felt like an idiot.
Yeah,
You're like, I must be wrong. Like, I don't understand. But
yeah, and I mean, obviously the 2 touchdowns was lucky, but like, like Ross Dwelley was a good play last week. He was a good play the week before, and he is also a good play this week. And if George Kittle does not go,
and as lucky as the 2 touchdowns are, Walsh, it goes back to the point that they clearly trust him in the red zone. They wouldn't have even targeted him for the 2 touchdowns if they didn't trust him out there. They wouldn't have had him out there. So it just supports the whole fucking narrative. So even if the TDs are lucky, I agree you're spot on there with the tight end spot, and it will be a fun Sunday night.
And I think the wide receivers being hurt too sort of highlights that even more, where it's very obvious that behind Sanders and behind Debo, they do not trust a single wide receiver on that team. So that sort of highlights it even a little bit more, that like you can trust the tight end position no matter who is playing it on this team.
100%. Fucking show me the money. All right, Walshy, let's pick this game.
Wait, we didn't talk running backs for San Francisco.
Dude, I've been leading the charge on it. We fucking skipped over running backs all day. Christian McCaffrey, fucking not great. Breda, I saw the injury update on him before. I
think he's unlikely to play. Okay, is what it seems like.
Yep. That looks less clear for Breda. Unlikely to play seems to be the deal. Tevin Coleman and I always get his last name wrong. Mostert?
Yeah, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, but
whatever.
Yeah.
Monster, whatever. They worked kind of pretty much a near even committee, about 49% of the snaps each, with Breda out. Jeff Wilson did get the touchdown on his only snap of the game, but that is what it is.
That was so funny too, because like he was like a goal line vulture, like in those first when Breda was out, or when Coleman was out earlier in the year. And then he catches a 30-yard pass touchdown in that game. It was just like, what the fuck was he doing in there? But yeah, Coleman's the guy here, right?
100%. 100%. I'm just looking. Breda's definitely done. Tevin Coleman's 100% the guy with Mostert. Sorry, I just keep saying it to myself as I feel like I'm getting it wrong. I'm only interested in Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, I don't think you need to like go that far in terms of Mostert. I don't think it's a necessary thing to do.
Nope. But yeah, if you want Tevin Coleman, he's in your lineup.
That's 100%.
Now let's pick a Walsh. I'm taking the Niners.
I am also. I'm going to take the Niners.
Sweep it on through, baby. Seattle Seahawks at the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's start on the Seattle side of the ball. Coming in at Philly -1.5, over under of 48, Walsh. So Russell Wilson has been legit as shit. The Eagles secondary is the opposite of legit as shit, which means big things for Russell Wilson and the receiving game.
So I kind of have a contrary take on this one. I think the Eagles defense is actually #actually good.
Okay.
Since they've gotten Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby back, and halfway through this, they've gotten Avonte Maddox back as well. So it's been 3 games that they've had them back. Fewest pass yards per game for any defense. And this was the case last year when the defense was playing well. It was when Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby were both healthy. And I know neither of those guys are world beaters at corner,
sure,
but I think their pass rush is good enough that when you have competent cornerbacks out there, that their defense becomes borderline elite. So I do not necessarily think – I mean, it's hard to bet against Russell Wilson, right? He's incredible. He's an MVP candidate.
Yes.
He's so good. I do not necessarily think that this is like a smash spot for the Seahawks offense or for Russell Wilson. I don't think you should be fading anyone because of it. Like, you're still starting Wilson, Carson, Lockett. I know Lockett has injury concerns right now, but if Lockett goes, you're starting him. And then DK as well, I think, is an obvious start in season long. In daily, I will be fading all of them.
Okay. Yeah,
and I will be betting the under in this game too.
Okay. I mean, I just did a little Googling as you were kind of, arguing your contrary take. Weeks 1 through 7, the Eagles defense allowed 271 pass yards, 26.6 points per game allowed. Weeks 8 through 11, 160 passing yards allowed, 14.7 points per game. which, as you said, has been Darby and Mills back kind of in the fold. So,
and part of that is matchups. Like I think the matchups have been good in those games.
yes, Bills, Bears, Patriots.
Patriots sneaky bad or Philly sneaky good? Which one? Maybe both. Who knows? But yeah, like I think there's smoke to that fire that like their cornerbacks are healthy. Like this is not the Philly that fucking Devontae Adams hung 150 yards in one half on, you know, in like week 3 or whenever.
Yep.
This is not that team, I don't think.
Okay. I mean, I can buy into that a little bit more as I'm looking at some of the stats. Like you said, sure, it does have to do with some weak pass games, but you know, so you believe that this is like the Falcons? This is legit?
Yeah, this was. I gave a little teaser at the end of the last one. I said I think there's another defense I'm going to be talking about with this in the second one. Here it is. This is the defense.
It's fucking here, big.
I think this is a real defense where their midseason change is legitimate, and again. It's not just – I mean, part of it is they've played weaker pass offenses, but also, like, their team has fundamentally changed. You have gone from cornerbacks who should barely be on NFL rosters because their top 3 cornerbacks were all hurt.
Yep.
So now you've got their top 3 cornerbacks back. And I know none of them are spectacular, but they are all at least competent. And I think that that's a reason to believe in this change.
Well, and again, when you go from trash to even average, I mean, that's a big improvement.
And their pass rush has been stellar all year. That's one thing. I've been tracking pressure rate the entire year.
Okay.
And as well as pressure allowed. Philly has the highest pressure rate of any defense in the NFL so far through the year. And it's like not particularly close. I don't have the spreadsheet directly in front of me. I can pull it up actually. But I believe, and I actually haven't added this past week's games in. So through week 10, I believe Philly's pressure rate was at about 44%.
Wow.
The next highest was at like 41%.
Okay.
I can pull up that though. This is one thing I've been trying to like do some research into this year.
Yep.
And in order to see whether it's actionable or not. Yeah. So Philly's pressure rate, 42.07% through week 10. And then the next highest is we're looking at New England actually with 40.13%. But 2% there is a pretty significant difference, I think.
Absolutely. Interesting. And they've stayed pretty consistent, like you said, even with the corners getting better and that pressure rate staying, it's
yeah. And I mean, when you add average cornerbacks to that equation, like as opposed to corners who are just going to get beat right off the snap every time, then that becomes actionable.
It's a big deal. No, you're right. No interest in the tight end for the Seahawks. I mean, you're not a fan as it is anyway, but
no.
hard pass. Let's flip over and talk Eagles side of the ball. Alshon Jeffrey had the ankle injury, didn't suit up last week. Questionable as last I saw on Alshon for this week. I don't know if there's a new update on him. Nelson Aguilar knee is also banged up, did not practice on Wednesday. I do not know if he practiced on Thursday. I don't know if it matters, but
I'm going to say it doesn't matter.
Aguilar and Jeffrey are two of just five players with at least 5 games with 8 or more targets and fewer than 50 receiving yards since week 1 of last season. It just seems like Wentz and his wide receivers really can't get on the same page, Walsh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust any of them. I think there's 2 people in this passing game that you want to be playing, and it's the 2 tight ends. It's Ertz and Goddard because they're both playing, upwards of 75% of the snaps, and they're both good. So, I mean, obviously Ertz is the preferred play, but I think you can play either of these guys in that sort of situation. The only other plays on the Eagles you would want to think about maybe would be the running back plays. And with Jordan Howard expected to come back this week, he did practice today as well as he was limited on Wednesday. So it's looking like he would be a guy who's going to play. I mean, the Seattle defense is nothing to be worried about, but with Jordan Howard coming off an injury, Miles Sanders, who knows? Boston Scott got worked in last week. I'm staying the fuck away from everyone except for the tight ends.
Okay. I have no problem with that call at all. And I do like Goddard a lot. I've actually been rolling. I mean, not by choice. I didn't roll him initially a few weeks ago, but he's been slowly but surely getting it done considering where my tight end position was at. So I'm with you on the tight ends. I am fine passing on the wide receivers as well. Walsh, let's pick it.
Seattle.
I'm going to take Philly. Let's fucking split it, baby.
All right.
You're the one convincing me here that this defense is legit. So we'll.
Yeah, it was all a ploy. You fell hook, line, and sinker. No.
Inside your head right now, you're like, you're such a fucking idiot, dude. Well, see, last game of the week, Baltimore Ravens at the LA Rams. Actually, going to be fun to watch some Lamar Jackson on Monday Night Football. Baltimore -3, over under 46.5. Definitely a game I'm looking forward to watching, although we'll see what happens. We have gotten some stinkers in prime time. But Lamar Jackson is just unbelievable. Unfortunately, as I'm playing you, I'm sure he will continue to be unbelievable as always.
I certainly hope so. He's Rodgers and I kind of ranted on it a couple weeks ago, but he is just so fun to watch.
It's great, man. It's so great. And that's like the one solace I'll have is you're beating my ass on Monday Night Football. We'll be watching Lamar Jackson do it.
Yeah, it's I'm excited for it, obviously, and hopefully he has a great game against the Rams. I think he will. The Rams defense is pretty good, but like Lamar Jackson is an exception to normal rules.
100%.
With him, am I wrong that like this offense is like pretty easy? It's like Jackson like smash play every single week.
Yeah.
And then Ingram and Andrews are like definite plays every single week. And then Marquise Brown is most likely a play, but like you can find better plays than him on a week-to-week basis.
Correct, especially when he's matching up with Jalen Ramsey.
Yes. And I don't have any confidence necessarily for Ramsey to, shut him down because he's also sort of an exception to certain rules, but like it doesn't help the matchup. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think I'm probably looking to get away from Brown this week. He doesn't have more than 4 targets in the game since returning from injury, and now he gets Jalen Ramsey. So, like you said, you can look elsewhere, but that's this week probably am away. But yeah, Andrews, Ingram, Mark Andrews, man, fucking what a fucking fantasy football value that guy was. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been very solid, and he defies all rules in terms of like snap share and that kind of thing because when he is on the field, he's getting targeted. Like that's how it works, which normally is a bad thing because it like telegraphs where you're going, but fuck, it seems to work for him. So
continues. It's the Lamar Jackson touch, baby. I don't know how they fucking do it, but they do. Let's touch the other side of the ball, Walsh. Final team here of the preview, the LA Rams. We just had our own Brandon Cooks debacle in our league of record with a very rare NFL.com screw up apparently. But we'll gloss over that. Brandon Cooks' concussion is expected to return to the lineup. I don't care. Robert Woods didn't report to the Rams on Wednesday due to personal reasons.
He did play today, though. I saw he was upgraded to active, or he practiced today. So, Robert Woods is expected to be back. So you would think it is going to be the normal cadre of receivers with him, Cooks, and Kupp.
If you own Cooper Kupp, I'm playing Cooper Kupp, but I don't know how you feel good, right? The Ravens have been fucking legit as shit since they got Marcus Peters and Jimmy Smith back healthy on the field. I think Cooper Kupp's the only one I roll out there, and it's been a fucking frustrating own for Cooper Kupp here recently, but I don't see how you don't play him despite a bad matchup.
I would be looking for ways not to play him if I can. 7 targets over the past 2 weeks, and since they've had Peters and Jimmy Smith back healthy, Marlon Humphreys, who previously was traveling with number 1 wide receivers to shadow them, has been their full-time slot corner, and now that's where Cooper Kupp lives. I don't think it's a good matchup. Sit Cooper Kupp at your own risk is what I will say, but Like Tyrell Williams or Cooper Kupp is a legitimate question for me.
It's crazy. Fucking crazy. But the Ravens are good, man. The Ravens are a good fucking football team.
They really are. I think the one play that's like a definite here is Gurley.
Yeah. I'm just looking at Gurley's really the only definite play.
And it's possible they kind of change the way that situation runs because they'll do that week to week. But at this point, I mean, we're coming off a week where Gurley saw the vast majority of the snaps. He saw a huge amount of work. And if I'm game planning against the Ravens, I see this secondary that's so good right now with those 3 cornerbacks we talked about, plus Brandon Carr and Earl Thomas at safety. Like, that's a filthy secondary.
Crazy.
So I am trying to avoid that at all costs. And how do I do that? I slow the game down. I give it to Todd Gurley. I use Malcolm Brown when appropriately. And that's about it. So and it seems like that's what the Rams have done over the past couple of weeks. Now that's been without Brandon Cooks. Maybe him being back opens up the offense. I'm not in Sean McVay's head. I don't know, but
either way,
yeah, Gurley is the play, I think.
But yeah, again, even if he does open up the offense, like you said, it doesn't matter against the secondary. If it was a different matchup, it's maybe different. But I think that you have to give Gurley the rock and let him fucking run it. As far as tight end, we're not interested at all.
No, Everett had like 1 target last week.
Yeah, I mean, he had the wrist injury, but yeah, it's not relevant here against the Ravens.
Yeah, count me out.
All right, well, let's pick the final game.
Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to sweep it through, finish it out with a favorite. Just feels right, feels good in my soul. And that's going to do it for us, guys, on the Week 12 preview. That's part 2 in the books. We wish you the best of luck here as you're staring down the barrel of the playoffs. Make the moves you got to make, guys. Be aware of your trade deadlines if it is not in effect already. And get ready. Start looking at schedules, and every week counts, guys. You need the wins to make sure you get in. And don't forget, points for does make a difference if you end up with the same record. So don't, just be mindful of it, because I know sometimes people forget about it and then becomes too late by the time they can actually give a shit. Walsh, you have anything to share with the people?
Yeah, ask us questions. We'll try and answer them. That's about it. Also, Liberty Creek wine. It's $6 for 1.5 liters. Pretty good. That's all I got. I am pretty toasty at this point in the podcast. Schreck, this has been a lot of fun. I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to it. I hope everyone wins this week. And ask us your questions. We'll try and answer them.
If it was legal, we'd ship out some bottles of wine to you guys across the country, but we don't need any legal trouble for those of you under 21.
I've done that through the mail before to people and like not gotten caught with it, and it's been pretty good. I think so.
Oh, I mean, and it's also different if you know him, Walsh.
No one checks this shit. Just do it anyway. No, don't take my legal advice. That's a bad thing to do.
He is not a lawyer, guys. For the record, if you want to spin the tight end roulette wheel, we do share your excitement for that gambling, but mailing it through the Postal Service is not something we recommend. Guys, for Nick Walsh, I'm Nick Schreck. We are with Let's Talk Fantasy Football. We will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.